fancy PowerPoint or a Prezi, or try to impress you guys with a video that probably won't even work, or use sound effects that will try to grasp your attention. No, this time I'm going to use other manners. But all I ask for you guys is to open your mind. Open your mind. And try to absorb everything that I'm about to tell you. I'm about to take you into a realm that I call invisibility. It is something I discovered within myself, and I hope in this short presentation you will find something within you. The novel opens like this. I am an invisible man. No, I am not a spook like those who haunted Edgar Allan Poe, nor am I one of your Hollywood movie ectoplasms. I am a man of substance, of flesh and bone, fiber and liquids, and I might even be said to possess a mind. I am invisible, understand, simply because people refuse to see me. When they approach me, they see only my surroundings, themselves, or figments of their imagination. Indeed, anything and everything, except me. You often doubt if you really exist. It is when you feel like this, out of resentment, you begin to bump people back. One night, I accidentally bumped into a man, and perhaps because of the near darkness, he saw me and called me an insulting name. I sprang at him, seized his coat, and demanded that he apologize. He was a tall, blond man, and I pulled his chin down sharp upon the crown of my head, butting him, as I had seen the West Indians do, and I felt his flesh tear and blood gush out, and I yelled, "Apologize! Apologize!" But he continued to curse and struggle. I kicked him repeatedly. Oh yes, I kicked him. And in my outrage, I got out my knife and prepared to slit his throat right there, and beneath the lamplight in the deserted street, holding him by the collar with one hand and opening the knife with my teeth, when it occurred to me that the man had not actually seen me. Actually, as far as he knew, he was in the midst of a walking nightmare. It unnerved me. I was both disgusted and ashamed. Then I was amused. I began to laugh, and I ran away into the dark, laughing so hard I began to fear for myself I might rupture. The next day, I saw his picture in the Daily News beneath the caption saying that he had been mugged. Poor fool. Poor blind fool. Mugged by an invisible man. Wasn't that just mind-blowing, guys? I mean, seriously. I read that thing like 5 times. That was the first opening words, and it was just great. This was written by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he was born in 1914 and died in 1994. He was an American novelist born in Oklahoma, and he moved to New York in the 1930s, which is actually the setting of this novel. And his famous work is this book, Invisible Man, and it won the National Book Award in 1953. The question that I used for my research. The Invisible Man deals with society and prejudice, and my question was, how does the use of stereotypical judgment cause individuals to treat others as inferior, and how this affects society? With this presentation, hopefully I will try to answer that question. Theme statement. This is just one theme I'm going to talk about in my presentation today. It is, identity can only be found in oneself. And this is the prologue that I just read to you. Actually takes place at the end of the novel, and it's the whole book is actually a flashback of his life journey and what he did to become invisible. He learned he had to overcome obstacles in his path and overcome prejudice, discrimination, and because he was deemed as a worthless savage just because of the color of his skin. He's black. His goal was to create peace between black and white people, and however this theory or this belief was rejected by both sides because both sides didn't want to do that. And he says that people refuse to see me. In the prologue he said, people refuse to see me. That's why he calls blindness. That's how he gains invisibility, because other people's blindness. He used people's blindness to their advantage. If they rejected him, he just blended right in. No prejudice there. That's how he learned to cope with society. He says that white people only see what they want to see. Poor, helpless, and meaningless people. This is why he's not seen in society, and this is why he is invisible. Another thing I'd like to point out through the novel is that the narrator's name is not mentioned, not once. I was really confused. I'm like, the Invisible Man, the main character, the protagonist, his name, not mentioned, not even once. And at first this annoyed me, and I was confused. The book would say something like, "Hey buddy, what's your name?" I told him. Or, he read my name card, something like that. He would never say his name. And I was really annoyed, I couldn't figure it out. But then I realized that it must mean something. Having a name gives you identity. Being invisible, which pertains to invisibility. He's searching for his identity. He's lost it. If he was given a name in the book, it would take away some of that aspect, and there wouldn't be that feeling there of searching for your identity. You would say you already have it because of his name. Now, another thing, the narrator thinks in the story, he thinks he's gained acceptance when he joins an organization called Brotherhood. And actually, he was being used. He thought oh, finally, I'm accepted in society. I am in this place where I have friends and family around me. This was not the case. They used him for his speaking skills and ultimately chased him out of the town, and he ran into a sewer hole. There, he discovered his invisibility. He learned to cope with the people around him, and because of his rejection, he learned to blend in right in society without even changing his clothes. Now, prejudice, injustice, and discrimination have been brought up into today's world, and a question that came up to mind was, why does race keep rearing its head in America if we're supposed to be post-racial, if we're supposed to be multicultural, if we're supposed to be in the place where the content of our character is supposed to be more important than the color of someone's skin and their social status? The fact of the matter is, America really needs to get real about what's going on in prejudice and discrimination, because it's not only the major factor in today's issues, but it is the missing factor. And this sort of thing prevents us from moving forward. Whenever an issue comes up, people just go in their corners and start blaming each other. This is not how it should work. We should really have open dialogue and stuff, and it seems that we're not actually moving forward. But recently, the President of the United States announced his opinion on gay marriage, and he affirmed it. So hopefully in a few months we might have some laws that might grant them equal rights the same as us. And hopefully they will receive less discrimination, but the prejudice is always there, but it won't be as bad. Now, on a more personal note, as a kid, I never really cared for what the people of the color of someone's skin were or the physical features. My sister and I, she loved watching That's So Raven and Little Bill. We always watched these shows, and I never understood, okay, cool, there's these just happy people, look, they're all playing together, but there was an episode where this girl wanted to go to get a job, and she couldn't because of her skin, and I was confused. I said, why would this person not get the job when she did better than the other person, and just because of the color of her skin? And we learned this in elementary school. These people were discriminated because of their physical features. And I never made that connection. Why is there racism? Kids, they play with whoever they want. They don't care. They're my friends, right? But it's just what we've learned. What the upper class does to prevent those in the lower class from moving up is what people are doing. We learn that say, hey, these people are bad. You shouldn't play with them, or you should call them this name because they're these people, when that is not the case. It is something that we just all learn, and for me, it makes no sense to me, because it matters who you are, not what your physical features are. And whether we're black, white, Latino, Asian, we're all part of the same race, the human race. We are all in this together. We inhabit the world, and we will try to move forward as one. How much time?
2 minutes.
Perfect. All right. Towards the end, I'm going to read an influential poem that will hopefully bring you guys to move forward. On the winds of change, I fly high. I soar higher than any bird in the sky. On the winds of change, I blow by anti-Semitism. The leaves of division blow hatred hurriedly in aimless directions, blowing sexism into ravines, racism into ravines, homophobes into hives, classicism back into caves, it seems. As though as one nation, black, white, native, Latino, and Asian, we hold our roots to be sub-evident, knowing that our destiny is intrinsically intertwined, whether we are at times of peace or whether we are at times of war. Your struggles are my struggles, my success is your pride, my failures are your lessons, for we are all part of the same mosaic. Whether mosque, church, synagogue, or monastery, necessary is now, negativity is negated. For separation of hate has replaced the nation once segregated. As a human race, we proclaim our emancipation from hate. We succeed from a nation of fear, annexing prosperity as our state. On the winds of change, a cool breeze comes to town, profound of sound, just a silent siren of words. The wing has a wingspan for our nation to fly on, shoulders broad enough for all of us to cry on, arms long enough to carry across the threshold, and eyes wide enough to see what the future may hold. But most importantly, the winds of change has a humble heart, beating fast enough to beat into our nation. New life, a new hope, a new start on the winds